Hello everybody and welcome back to AVS Railways. I'm sorry that it's taken me so long to produce a follow-up video, but I was looking out for new equipment that should hopefully make this video run better. I know that my first attempt was rather prim and proper and the final edited result wasn't exactly what I had hoped for, but today I thought I'll give it a go and I hope to run through my current stock with you and the plans, projects, ideas that I've got for these items. I think the most sensible place to start is with my Pullman projects, as Pullmans have been probably my biggest interest recently, both historically and operationally. I like the construction history, the formations that they had in terms of rakes, the route availability, things like that. I quite like the variations, the knowing the differences that occurred. And I think the best place to start is probably with my fairly simple Hornby conversions that I'm currently undertaking. And that would be car number 34, third class, and the Monaco 12-wheel dining car, kitchen dining car, first class. Now, these two cars, they are both suitable for my time period, 1920 to 30. However, they do need backdating slightly to the old standard, Pullman old standard livery, where the contrail would have been cream rather than umber. This seems simple enough, one would think. However, precision transfers and various paints, they don't always match very well. So my attempt, I think, will be to use the Humbrol Pullman cream and to produce my own Pullman lettering and scrolls. With any luck it will turn out okay, but we will see. Other alterations have included, obviously, the removal of the corridor connections, as in order to fit the underfloor cages, which I much prefer. They look the part, they work really well, required the removal of the rubber diaphragm, the rubber gangway, as this was too stiff to permit KDs running around third radius curves. Now, these will be replaced in time, most likely with a paper concertina in either black or a very dark grey card, thin card. I've also painted the white rims of the wheels white rather, as Pullmans always ran with white rimmed wheels, and then the entire underframe has been weathered. I'm also in the process of repainting the roofs white. For some bizarre reason, a younger Alex thought that household emulsion made really good paint unthinned. I daren't comment. I've also replaced the buffers with white metal castings, as I mentioned earlier, these cars potentially have to run third radius curves. They certainly do at my railway club on our test track. It's a simple loop, but it does the job. You know, we need to find out if it rolls. I'm now going to move on to talking about one of my mutilated Pullmans, my Graham Farish conversion that you may have seen on Arm & Web and New Railway Modellers. Now, I can't remember which book it was that I read it in. Oh, I've lost a bogey. But there were discussions about the Graham Farish cars being representative of the Great Eastern Pullmans that were built at the very beginning of the 1920s, the doyen of which is probably Arcadia. which was converted into a brake parlour, and the pattern of which resembles this car. Now obviously this car never would have existed, but in my fictitious world for Blackstone-in-the-Strait, this car it had its underframe completed, but the bodywork hadn't been. It had been delayed. The Great Eastern turned it down. Oh, we don't want it. But the South Eastern jumped at the chance, and so the car ran in South Eastern Chatham livery, and the bodywork, the patterns had been altered to fit the company's loading gauge, and therefore this car will run in Madder Lake and will be named Amelia Ann. All of the alteration work that has been carried out on the Hornby cars, exactly the same process here. I am going to eventually replace the grossly overscale matchboard panelling that was on the lower half of the body, most likely with thin plasticard. I have fitted bogie mounts for Hornby's 6-wheel bogies, which have collection points for the lighting, which I will also fit. I will be fitting lighting to this car, and new buffers are required as well. The end windows, top windows, were filled in. I've added a roof footboard, as this was used for roof cleaners and maintenance workers walking between each car. Also, I have cut out the doors. They were quite nicely moulded, however I had some Comet etched brass doors left over from a conversion kit that I bought years ago, and that seemed the most logical approach to this car conversion. The final detail will be to reproduce the underframe tie rods in either nickel silver or brass wire. And lastly, for my Pullmans, we have the certainly most drastic change that I've opted for, and that is the Pullman car of 1893, the Princess Regent, or as it was later known, car number 3 second class, and this was a kitchen parlour. Now, you may recognise this as a roundhouse kit. It was. It has been cut down in length in order to match the diagrams that I have of these cars. The underframe has been assembled in more or less the same way. The main issues I have at the moment are, obviously, I've completely cut out the sides, but my plan for these will be to eventually etch my own new brass sides or outsource the etching so that this car will have some weight to it. I've also ordered some white metal bogies, 6-wheel bogies from 24/7 Developments. New buffers will be required and an interior, but I will update that as I go along, inform you as to what will be happening, as I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to be approaching this yet. This car will also be running in the old standard livery, however I think I may weather it a bit, as it's a car that will potentially be reaching the end of its service life. That's it for my Pullmans for now. I hope I haven't bored you too much, and I will talk about my other stock and my other projects in another video.